Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody, and welcome to this presentation wherein we will be discussing imagery within the context of English with reference to Hilary Mantel's Wolf Hall. Now, quick disclaimer, please read this before listening to what I have to say. And now, general remarks. I've created a set of accompanying notes which will be linked in the description. They're sort of an adjunct to this, and they will go over just my thoughts about imagery, how I organise my thoughts, and what So, what is an image? What is an image? An image is a comparison. So, where you compare, well, one thing to another. For instance, how do I organise my thoughts about images? Well, I like to ask myself the three questions. What type of image is it? Simile, metaphor, personification? And then identify what is being compared. And finally, ask myself, why is this effective? Why is this good? You know, the author clearly had a purpose in putting it in there, because he had to create it. You know, it takes thought and mental energy to create these images. So there's clearly a purpose in there. So that's what that final point means. Context. This context, quick clarification, is fictional historical context, which is distinct from the actual historical context. So who was Cardinal Woolsey? Cardinal Woolsey is a statesman. He is also, well, a cardinal and held ecclesiastical offices. He's earned much enmity throughout his career. If you've heard of the dissolution of the monasteries, and the fact that, if we see here, he did not annul Henry VIII's marriage to Queen Catherine. Henry was not pleased with that, and he has just been, that's meant to say dispossessed of his residence at Hampton Court. So in short, they've come along, he's just been chucked out of his house. He's still got his positions, he's still got his office at this point, he's still got his Great Seal at this point, but he's just left his home. So he's travelling with Thomas Cromwell and George Cavendish to an inferior residence at Esher. So they're in a barge, it's low light, there's a lot of grief, shock, because he just barged in and started taking inventory of all the cardinal's possessions. There's a lot of fear as well, because we're in Cromwell's mind, and Cromwell knows that if the cardinal dies, or it's called like the fall of the cardinal, it's his demise, then Cromwell's going down too. And then they're trying to make light of it on the boat, but you know, from Mantel gives us little hints, and that the cardinal's hand is trembles slightly. He's putting on a brave face, but it's trembling. He's holding Thomas Cromwell's hand. The cardinal's also called Thomas. There's a lot of Thomases in here. So that's the context before for the following image. But what I would do for them, this is the cardinal speaking, by the way. But what I would do for him, cross the channel slightly as a man might step across a stream in the street. So who's speaking here? It is the cardinal. Who are referring to as him? That is Henry VIII. This image may be vulgar, but I can tell you what, it's memorable. So that's why I picked it. I just love it. So, let's go back again. That's what I would do for him. So, what is this type of image? Cross the channel as lightly as. These as's are telling me that, first of all, it's a simile. And what's being compared here? Well, the cardinal's willingness to exert his intelligence, power, money in the cause of Henry, and crossing the channel, that would be the English Channel. So why is this an effective comparison? So what's being compared here? Well, it's quite a complex image, but that's why I like it. So we have the first sentence, which kind of gives us I think it's quite funny, the first sentence, because really, if you know Cardinal Woolsey, he's a slippery fellow. Of course, but what I would do for him, of course, Cardinal, you would do stuff for Henry, for self-serving motives, because displease Henry, and you're dead. But back to the comparison, what is being compared here? Well, crossing the channel is being compared to stepping across a stream of in the street. Now, why is this an effective comparison? Well, stepping across a stream of isn't exactly difficult, is it? Because how big is that going to be? How wide is that going to be? Probably like this. You know, a stream isn't wide. It's not like a river or a sea or an ocean. The reference to the P, I think, just adds comedic value. What about crossing the English Channel? Well, more generally, crossing the English Channel is hard. Nonetheless, it is a large undertaking. So, what is the point of this image? Well, first of all, we have its irony in the first sentence. And what it does is it illustrates the Cardinal's willingness to cross the channel, that you wouldn't think it was an inconvenience, just as stepping across a stream of in the street is not an inconvenience. It's not wide, is it? But there's also that thing where actually it's figuratively in here not an inconvenience, but it makes you question, is it really an inconvenience for the Cardinal to do that? Because I don't really think it is. So I think there's a little bit of irony in this there as well. It's a really deep image there. So, moving on to the next one. Fictional context for these two. So, Cardinal Woolsey and Sir Thomas Boleyn are conversing. Basically, the Cardinal's plans have almost been thwarted. He's displeased at his marriage. Plans for St. Thomas's daughter, Anne Boleyn, that's the future wife of Henry VIII after Catherine of Aragon, have gone awry. He needs marriages to, please this party and make sure this other one didn't get displeased, honour this family legacy, the history, the nobility. What's the setting for these? Well, we're in the Cardinal's residence at Hampton Court. It's low light, there's a fire burning, Thomas Cromwell sitting in the corner. It's really, the tension is palpable. There's a lot of insinuations, implicit threats, and insincerity going on in this conversation. So our first thing is, Cardinal Woolsey and Sir Thomas Boleyn have almost ended their conversation by now. The Cardinal has ordered Sir Thomas to fix the issue. Sir Thomas, of course, it defers to the Cardinal because the Cardinal is the more powerful figure in here, and Sir Thomas is just walking out when Mantel writes this. His voice loops across the room and pulls his victim back. Now, guys, this is such a good one. So whose voice? Well, the Cardinal's. And who's the victim? Sir Thomas Boleyn. But can you just see that? No? Can you just envision this, guys? And actually, it's just like a lasso if you think about it, isn't it? Because, here's my mouse lasso, he's just going like this, pull this victim back, and if you can relate that feeling where somebody's words just, they either leave you just feeling rooted to the spot, or they just exert this inexorable force that you just cannot move. Plug my mouse back in. And then they just do that, and that's what I think this describes. It describes it so eloquently. And it's the fact that it roots around the room, and you can just visualise the Cardinal's voice just pulling like a lasso, pulling Sir Thomas in and back again. And it also illustrates how actually the dominant, the fact that the Cardinal is dominating this discussion because Sir Thomas is the victim. So if you... Right. So now, what type of image is it? One, it is a metaphor. What is being compared? Well, the Cardinal's voice is being compared to a lasso. Just as a lasso you can pull a lasso and you can go like this and bring it back in here and pull that in to rein in, which lasso cowboys use it to rein in their cattle. So too has the cardinal used his voice, the power of his voice, to rein in Sir Thomas, to offer another, to actually threaten him about and mention the fact that the Boleyns in the book anyway are they're an old merchant family, because the cardinal can use that. He can leverage it to Sir Thomas's disadvantage. So that's why that image is effective, because it illustrates the power of the cardinal. That's the crux of the image here. Next page. This is on the very next page, as you can see down here. This is Cromwell speaking. He suspects he may be this evening's further diversion, now that Boleyn has been torn into strips and dropped on the ground like orange peel. This is a good one. And to help us explain this image, I've brought along a visual aid. Now, first of all, who is speaking? Thomas Cromwell. Thomas Cromwell, suspects he may be this evening's further diversion. Again, some wry humour in there, because we wouldn't exactly say that conversing with Sir Thomas was diverting, would we? No, so a bit of some of the humour, comedic value, there's sarcasm there. Now that Boleyn has been torn into strips and dropped on the ground like orange peel. So see if we peel an orange here. Okay, so I'm peeling my orange. Da, da, da. You know, it doesn't offer much resistance to it. You can peel an orange quite leisurely. And so what does that indicate about this? Suggest about this? Well, he enforces the cardinal's power by suggesting that he just roasted Sir Thomas really easily. You know, this didn't take effort. It didn't take effort for the cardinal to do that. And then dropped on the ground as well. So it suggests that actually if you drop something on the ground, it's disposed of. It's almost like the cardinal's just disposed of that issue because he knows that Sir Thomas will fix it because Sir Thomas is so afraid of him. That's how I read that image. So that's why I think it's effective, because it's so vivid, because everybody knows what it's like. It's just so droll as well. Really a fruit. And so I hope you enjoyed this video. Here are the references at the end. This is where I bought my Hilary Mantel books. They're quite affordable in World of Books, and if you like supporting secondhand, not affiliated at all. I hope you found entertainment value in this. If it was, look at the notes, then I think they're quite funny as well. Or they might provide, I hope they provide value in them if you're sitting exam. If you just like watching videos about imagery, then I hope you enjoyed.